Hi everyone, my name is Anna. I'm a wife of an addict in recovery, and I'm also recovering myself from codependency.
Hey guys, I'm Mitchell. I'm a gratefully recovering addict alcoholic. I'm grateful to be here.
So you notice we're laughing, and the reason why we're not laughing is because we thought...
Because of this.
Yeah, we thought that we'd do this tonight rather than go sit over there, so...
Kind of like back to basics.
Yeah, back to basics. So, good evening. Tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to do the Monday night meeting on how to regain trust, because we did have quite a few people that liked that question or that feedback. And then again, guys, I did post something that did say Monday Family Support Meeting. And hi, Erin! And anyone that has any ideas of any future Monday night meetings, please let us know, and we'll definitely start doing them as well, okay? So tonight is how to regain trust. I want to start off right in the beginning, and I really would say that, Mitchell, in order for us to regain trust, what do you think you had to do? Like, what do you feel, where did you have to be in order to be able to start that path?
Stop lying.
Yeah, well, that too. But
Number one, stop lying, right? Stop lying to myself, stop lying to you, stop lying to other people, stop sugarcoating what I needed to hear to myself, stop leaning into the easy, right? Like, all that stuff needs to happen first. Stop using. I think all that stuff has to happen. Because, I mean, I don't think it'd be regaining trust if none of that happens, right?
No, and
Go
ahead.
So I think, I mean, all that has to happen. I think, after you kind of execute on that stuff, I would say, I think you have to be committed to it.
Yeah.
I think you have to commit to being open and teachable and feedback and criticism and open to resentments and
how'd you get yourself
working through all the things. I mean, that's what I'm saying. You have to be prepared. You have to be prepared for all that stuff. And then that leads to, you probably need support and a program or a friend or a religious figure or just your higher power. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, you need someone to confide in because it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But I think that earning the trust is the easy part. It's all the stuff you got to do to earn the trust.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like the end game's earning trust. But all that stuff I just listed, that's a lot of stuff.
It is a lot of stuff.
You know what I mean? Like, how often do you want to hear, like, real stuff about yourself that could be potentially hurtful? Right? You don't.
Not a lot.
You don't.
Not a lot.
You know what I mean? Or, like, maybe a loved one, to earn trust back, a loved one has to tell you something that maybe they think is one of your character defects. I mean, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear. So, I mean, you got to be open to that. You have to have a support network. You have to be easy on yourself. You have to realize that this is the end goal is trust.
Yeah.
So, like, I guess, like, stop all the stuff that's taking trust away. Define what trust looks like, and set that as the goal, and then get a support group and remain open and start working on that stuff.
Okay.
Would be the simplest answer, I think.
Okay. Hi, Sherry. Because
What do you feel?
to gain trust back?
Yeah. What do you feel? Same question.
Well, for me to
What do you need to do
to be in that position? Same thing as you just said with the support system. I think that was a main thing that you hit on is, I don't think we can learn how to gain trust back again alone, because I had a lot of resentments towards you. And it was hard for me to hear you when you were trying to share information with me. My brain would always quickly straight go to, well, you hurt me. Or I would be defensive. If you told me a reasoning to why you felt a certain way, mine, again, was not to listen to you. My initial reaction was to basically go at you. Thank you, Moira. Thank you very much for the stars. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. For me, like, that was a big one was I was filled with a lot of hurt and pain. And so I will say for me, guys, and Mitchell and I have talked about this before, I need everyone to really know Mitchell and I in no shape or form did this alone at all. Okay? We had a support system, a massive support system, and we didn't just have it, we utilized it. So I had my support system. We both had our support system in Laura Boberg, 100%, right? But I had my support, which was my Alpine family. Mitchell had his support that was all Alpine as well, but alumni program, residence therapy. And so Mitchell and I feel like in order to cure one another, we needed that third party. So for me, marriage therapy or family therapy, whatever one you wanted to call it, I don't know what Darren would really classify himself. But
family therapist.
Yeah, family therapist. But regardless of anything, he was very helpful because if I was trying to explain something to Mitchell, I got a lot of validation from Darren if I felt all of a sudden Mitchell was at being more reactive. Darren would challenge him and vice versa. And I will tell you, so number one thing, I agree with you, Mitchell, we both needed a support system. So if you're asking, how do we regain trust with one another? If you guys are trying to do it alone, chances are, like, you're setting yourself up for some massive hards, even harder than they're already going to be. You need to each have your own individual support system. And the reason why that's key is because it helps us process through things more, that we can come back. So that I work through my resentment, I'm challenged as well, and then vice versa. Darren, I think, said the really good thing, Mitchell. He's like, yeah, what do you want to do? What do you want to work on? And I remember saying, like, I want to regain trust with Mitchell. And I never thought about it. He returned the question. He went, so how do you regain that trust, Anna? And I remember just staring back at Darren, and my head was like, well, Mitchell has to work on that. Being completely honest, that was my mind was like, well, Mitchell has to do the right things to gain the trust back. And I don't think I verbalized that, but I remember Darren afterwards saying, Anna, I want you to think about what Mitchell actually has to do in order to gain trust. I know that you want it, but we need to actually sit down and go, what does that even mean? What does it look like, so that Mitchell has more of a map and he knows the things he needs to do, because he could be trying to gain trust back, but it's not hitting yours. Mm-hmm. And I'm almost positive Darren was the one that brought us on to what's called the 5 love languages. He was the one that originally had us take that test. Reason being is because he said this is another way that we can learn how to regain trust back by creating that intimacy that we may need in our love language. And I remember taking it, and mine was quality time. And I think yours first one at that time was physical touch. Do you agree? Do you remember?
I have no idea. I honestly don't remember.
Okay, so I think your first one was physical touch. Mine was quality time.
Or words of affirmation.
Yeah, or words of affirmation.
I think mine might have been words of affirmation.
And see, right there, that was difficult because it was hard for me to give Mitchell words of affirmation when I was hurting, right? And then I remember Darren going, Mitchell, I think this is a reason why Anna's saying she's so far detached from you, because her love language is quality time.
Yeah.
And
there hasn't been any quality time.
Yeah, unfortunately with addiction, we're not present, we're not time spent. Mm-hmm. So that was another way in order to gain trust back, was to just actually see what our love language is. So I want everyone out there, you can still go take the test for free, but it only gives you, I think, like the first one now. Okay. Right. And now you have to pay for it to get it. But I will tell you, the love language is a good thing. And the reason why, guys, is because sometimes it's not a lack of love. You just might have 2 different love languages, and you tend to give love the way you want to receive love. So you just
go ahead,
Mitchell.
It's communication. It's a miscommunication.
Yes.
Right? I think that I think there's a ton of ways of earning trust back, and I think that you can. I think the simplest way to earn trust back, and what we all think, at least I do. Yeah. But when I think about earning trust back, I think that one person just has to be trustworthy, and then it just happens, right?
Yeah.
That's in a trusting relationship. You don't lose trust by remaining truthful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then that trust never leaves, mm-hmm. right? So like we expect to just stop doing what we're doing, be honest, and we just earn trust back, and that's just not the case.
No.
You probably will earn trust back, but it's going to take a long time. At least as long as the deception, if not longer.
Yes.
Right? Because you have resentments and things to work through. So I think, the love language thing, or finding out how to communicate well or better, having that support network that you can run things by, help you communicate. Because if you are having a miscommunication, how easy is that going to be to get on the same page with trust?
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to do it. So that's going to be a roadblock in the theory of just be truthful and you'll earn trust back.
Yes.
Right? So if you're just doing that, it's going to take a long time. And then add in the miscommunication because we show love and respect and understanding different, you're never going to be trusted if you just leave it at that. That's why it takes a lot of work on both sides. That's why you have to work through the past. You have to revisit the past. You have to rehash maybe old fights.
Yeah.
You have to learn to communicate. You have to have a third party. You have to have a support network. You have to also, take care of yourself, like self-care.
Yep.
You can't just keep working on trust and not take care of yourself or have family time or take care of your kids. If you're just doing stuff to earn trust back, what is falling by the wayside? Maybe it's your relationship with your kids or your parents or each other because you're just working on this trust thing. Well, that's just all the reason why you need to get on the same page, I think, with like how you communicate.
Yep, and I just thought about something because I do think, and I understand why this would be the feeling. However, I tend to see when someone is in early recovery that is just coming out of an active addiction, within that first 6 months, I feel they're very entitled to trust. And we need
because we're doing so much different.
Yes, and we need to remember, though, even at the get-go, we're never entitled to someone's trust. Ever.
I think we take trust for granted.
Yes, I think we do too. I think we think trust is supposed to just be given. But we need to realize that we are not entitled to anybody's trust. And unfortunately, when someone was not the true individual and had the disease or mental disorder of addiction, it comes with, unfortunately, a lot of unhealthy behaviors. And those unhealthy behaviors bleed onto other people, and it creates trauma. And when someone comes into early recovery, I think, like you said, because they're like, I'm doing different, I think they don't realize that they feel they're very entitled to someone's trust again. And I'm going to tell you, coming from a family member, coming from that and feeling like someone feels like they're entitled back to my trust makes me feel like I am not seen for what I went through.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not going to help me regain trust in somebody. What I need more is someone to have empathy and understanding. And again, as family members, we need to remember going back into the past is not to hurt. Going back into the past has to be held with the intention to heal it, that we're going back to be seen and heard, and we're going to heal from it. Because, if there is any addicts in early recovery, trust me, we do want to regain trust with you. We absolutely do. We just need to remember what trauma really does to the brain, okay? What it really does is it turns on a lot of those survival responses. So parts of the brain that shouldn't be on all the time, and vice versa. So what happens is a part of our brain that's supposed to be off, that should be able to distinguish smoke from actually being a fire. But unfortunately, when we've gone through trauma, we don't even see smoke. If smoke happens, we run at it towards fire. So in that addiction, when we've tried to express our feelings, unfortunately, the addict never heard us. So we don't feel seen, we don't feel heard. So now when we have our loved one in early recovery, working recovery, and we're trying to talk about the past, and someone just gets aggravated at us, or they feel entitled to it, that doesn't build trust. That actually makes me build more of a wall and go, see even more, why is this different than back then? So that's why, like Mitchell said, we need to have that support system so that you can go and vent to that support system, and the support system can help you process and know that this is not going to be forever. This is going to be a step process. But I can tell you right now, I trust Mitchell. I can tell you this, though, also in early recovery, when Mitchell went into rehab that last time, I never thought I would ever trust Mitchell ever again. Okay, not one even shred of possibility. So we're from there all the way now to trusting Mitchell. So again, it's got to be that, and I think that's another thing we can touch on a little bit later, Mitchell, is building that emotional intimacy back. Because we touched on the 5 love languages of that is part of that emotional intimacy, have our needs met. But let's go into more of like our story and what we needed in order to gain that trust back. Okay? Is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think that just before we do, I think going along with that communication piece is, how you said that, sometimes you feel in early recovery, like, you stop doing the drugs, you stop like the toxic behaviors, maybe you do stop lying and you start getting honest and you do feel more entitled to that trust. And that's okay, but we have to have a conversation about that, right? About how I get that you're doing a lot of great work. I get that you're not using or wrecking your life anymore and that we are doing way better. But I also need you to understand that I don't trust, right? Yeah. I'm not going to just trust you because you're not using.
Yeah.
How do you have that conversation? How do you bring that up with your loved one who is doing thousands times better than using and wrecking life?
Yeah.
While also getting your point across of we need to do a lot of work on us.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part for people is like, how do we have these conversations whenever we are doing a lot different, right? How do we start working on these sensitive issues when, who likes to be like, oh, you feel like you're entitled to trust? Like, well, screw you, man. You know what I mean? I am doing a lot better.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So how do you get past that? And I think that's when you have to, rely on your support to say, listen, man, you're being a little bit prideful or you're in your ego or whatever. And it says they're not saying that. They're saying you're doing a really good job, but there's a lot more work to do.
Yeah.
Or this is where I see things. You know what I mean? So, I mean, it's very important to just communicate.
Yeah.
Just communicate, not take things personal. Get it out there. Have your sounding board. Have your we, and build that support group because I think that's what you're going to lean on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then, as you're saying, this next thing is like, along with having the communication, I think to earn trust, which is like the spoken word, right? I think there's also the physical safety.
Yes.
Right. I think that's like sitting next to someone. Like, I can imagine. I don't know, but I can imagine. Living with an addict is probably like living with someone who I can just say maybe stole a bunch of stuff from me, stole a bunch of money from me, and now I'm sitting next to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they're lying, they're manipulating, probably stealing from you as well. But for me to imagine, because I'm the addict in recovery, I would imagine someone came and robbed my house, and then I know that they robbed my house, but I'm still living with them.
Yeah.
How safe am I going to feel sitting in the same room as them?
Yeah.
Not very safe.
No.
Right? So, like, how do you get back to that closeness? I think it starts with that communication. I think it starts with the spoken word. Like, what are you going to do? Say it, back it up, actually follow through. Mm-hmm. You do those things, but then what is it like? Hey, I don't feel comfortable sitting next to you. I don't feel comfortable in the same space as you. I don't feel comfortable laying in the same bed as you. How do you tackle that, right?
Well, I'm going to tell you something before we move on, and I'm going to read what Laura wrote because it's good of starting into how we started to gain trust. But I want to say something that still to this day, Mitch and I actually just used it the other day and told someone else again. There is something I really loved that you said on a Way Back Live, and what I've heard you say to other addicts in recovery. And I really like this because people do ask, like, how do you get into a spot where you do feel like you're being treated like a child? You feel like you're getting your freedoms taken away. You feel like it's all about control. I remember you saying, look, especially if it has to do with your spouse and it's not to do with another addict in your life, maybe you're addict in your life with your spouse. Like you said, a really good thing, I love it, is you went, I think you need to look at it another way. You need to look at it another way, man, that your wife is giving you another chance and another opportunity and still wants to be in this relationship, even after everything that the addiction caused. That you need to come from a place and see that she's giving me this chance and this opportunity to actually build trust. Man, I'm really grateful for that because she doesn't need to do that. She could just leave. But you need to come from that point. And I know I think you said one of your therapists, or maybe you came up with it, but I thought someone helped you at one point to change that around, to think about, like, you're really lucky that you're getting this opportunity, that she still wants to be in this relationship. And that's why she wants to do this trust. Do you think that somebody else wants to come up with these things of how to regain trust? No.
Yeah.
So look at it from the perspective of, you know what? this is hard. It's not going to be forever, and I'm really lucky that someone's giving me the opportunity to want to build trust again with me.
Yeah.
And that really did, you said, helped you work through those resentments that you had towards me. And like that feeling of the control, but really coming from a place of, I'm lucky.
You know, I first of all, I didn't know where you were going with that at first. And second of all, I'll take full credit for all that. just kidding. And that was probably a lot of people saying a lot of things and probably a lot of aha moments and stuff, but also working with a lot of people that are sick of feeling controlled.
Yeah.
Because it's real. That's a real feeling.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
Just the other day, like, you know, when we were going to go, I asked you about going to the concert, and it's like, no. And I'm like, get down on myself. Like, I wanted to, like, you know, I'm like, I can't do anything. I'm an addict. I'm an addict in recovery. I'm never going to be trusted. I can never do anything on my own. All this, you know what I mean? You get down on yourself, and it's like, that's natural. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, what you're specifically talking about, I really do remember a lot of the times saying this is like, do you think your loved one wants to keep tabs on you? Do you think your loved one wants to look in your eyes when you come home every night, or kiss you and see if you're smell like alcohol, or say, did you do this, or keep that? Like, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. Like, they're doing this because they care about you. If they didn't care, you'd be gone. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You would not have this to work through. And if you love that person, then be grateful that stuff's happening. Because I know I don't like to police people.
Yeah.
But you know what a relationship is? It is keeping each other accountable.
Yes.
And I think whenever you're in a relationship and you are keeping each other accountable, yes, we can get down on ourselves and say, man, this person's controlling, or why can't I do this, or why can't I do this? But that's what a relationship is.
Yeah.
A healthy relationship keeps each other accountable. And it makes it harder.
Yeah.
Which makes it better.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's easy. Like, if you want easy, then you're not going to have a lot of people in your life.
Yeah.
That are great.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Because they're never going to rely on you either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If I don't challenge things and follow through with the things I'm going to do, and you have to keep, you know, telling me all these stuff I need to do and all this stuff, you're not going to feel safe. Eventually, you're going to be like, well, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that stuff has to happen, but it has to happen so it doesn't have to happen.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Laura said, I remember you talking on a live about gaining trust, and he made small commitments and showed up to do them, like vacuuming or making dinner for everyone. Those are the things I watch for now, as I don't truly fully trust. You're exactly right, Laura, because that was one of the things when Darren said, Anna, I need you to first, so this is to every family member out there, okay? We've got to do our part. We want trust back, but we have to do our part. What does that look like? What is that going to look like for us? What do we need to actually build that trust back? So we're going to have to
you got to do your own research.
Yeah, we're going to have to take our own time, our own self-reflection, dig deep, and figure out what that may mean. And sometimes I tell people when we're first kind of like, well, I don't know. Sometimes you start with, how did you lose trust?
Yeah.
If you write down how you lost trust, you're going to figure out what you need to gain trust, okay? And so, just like Laura said, it's absolutely true. That was one of the things is, Darren, I remember saying, Mitchell, how do you think trust is actually made? And we started talking about, well, telling someone that we're going to do something, and we do it. And then I remember him following up and saying, Mitchell, do you think the addict said that they would do things and they followed through? And you were like, no. And Darren said, that's why it is so important to do those small activities, those things that you think that might not have a big impact. They do. So if Anna says, hey, Mitchell, could you take out the trash? And you say, absolutely, I'll take it out tonight. And you don't take out that trash, you're not gaining trust back.
Yeah, and it's not about the trash.
Yes.
It's about the billions of times you didn't do something in addiction.
Yes, and so it was things like that. That was one of the biggest things I told Mitchell is, I need you to really focus on what your words are to me. And think deep on them and think if you can actually do them. If you can't, don't even say them to me.
Yeah, I think we, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we made boundaries about that too. Like,
yes.
If things are going to change, we need to have a conversation about it before it happens.
Yes.
And if you can't, and like, you know, an agreement of like, yes, I understand that I hear, and we repeat it to each other. So if it does happen, it's like, well, why didn't you communicate that you were going to stop going to a meeting, or
yes,
or you weren't going to call before you, you know, went and got groceries in between here and there.
Yes.
So I would know that oh, he's gone for an extra like 30 minutes. Like, those are the things you have to do and agree upon.
Yes.
So then, you know, when it's not executed. I mean, yeah, you're right. If it's not defined, then how do you know? It's just insanity. You're setting yourself up for failure.
Yes, and I will tell you right now, how to regain trust back, you got to clear up assumptions.
Yeah.
Anytime you have a conversation with somebody and you have any inclination that you don't understand or you have more questions, that is your role to go back into that conversation and ask more questions. Assumptions are like the biggest killer of relationships. Doesn't matter, romantic, friendships, whatever, okay? We need to clear up assumptions. This is not a time to let our own devices put in our own story to fill in the blanks, okay? So you've got to clear up assumptions. That is a number one thing of how to regain trust. That's why Mitchell just said that is a big one, is when you say something or when you say I'm going to do something, before you do it, we have a conversation about it, right? So just like you said.
An agreement is made.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, if not, some people, and that's another thing that I think is a roadblock on this whole journey is feeling like you're taking the life out of life, right?
Yeah.
You're taking the excitement out of life by doing all this, and that's just BS.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's exactly what I thought. Oh, I'm structuring all this stuff. We're having conversations about conversations. What kind of thing is this? Are we even living like, you know what I mean, like free and all? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
You're living way more free, because by doing all this work and communication and answering and agreements and reflective listening and accountability, all this stuff, you're doing all that stuff so you can be free.
Yeah.
Of assumptions. You can be free to go on vacations without resentments. You can be free to take a day off and not have everybody yell at you. You can be free to go on a drive by yourself and not have someone call on your phone all the time, because it's all freaking known.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I think this is the biggest thing that stopped me forever.
Yeah.
Was like, I thought I was this free person, but I was actually shackled more in addiction.
Yeah.
Thinking I was free. Than sitting down with you and a marriage counselor and rehab and counsel and and like all this stuff that I'm doing, we're way more free now.
Yep.
Because we know.
Yes. Yep.
Right?
And I think a big one too is going back to the assumptions also, Mitchell, is like when you said about meetings, if a family member, now these aren't boundaries, these are going to be our needs, okay? So they're not boundaries. It's saying this is what I need in order to gain trust. They have every right to go okay or no, all right? So when I said that I needed meetings from Mitchell, I remember Darren going, well, what does that mean? Okay, because in my mind, meetings mean like every single day, okay? Mitchell's mind might go, okay, one a week. So right there.
Or I can go to a meeting and she'll shut up.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
I mean, when you think about it.
Yes. And so what the thing is really with therapy, okay, sorry, that comment took me real off guard.
Yeah.
That was like the addict.
That's the addict. That's what the addict thought every day. Was I'm going to answer this how she wants me to answer it, and she'll shut up.
Yeah.
That's the addict brain.
Yeah.
Right?
It's just so, my mind just says so disrespectful.
Yeah, because I don't tell Leanna to shut up.
No, not at all. That's why it just caught me off guard. It triggered me, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Right back into the, right.
I know, you were just like,
Right back into the addiction again. And wanted, like, throw a punch.
And it's good, because a lot of people on here need to know that, like, when you're working with someone in early addiction, early recovery, like, those are going to be the thought processes, right?
Yeah.
That's the stuff I have to stop in my mind.
Yeah.
And that's how I get honest. That's how I start earning trust back, is by combating those thoughts of give her the best answer, because you can just get out of it faster, right?
Yeah.
That's the automatic response.
That's the brain too. Remember what we were talking about in the last morning lives about the survival brain?
Yeah.
Fight, flight, play dead or freeze. Mitchell just flat out expressed it. Is that's what his mind's doing? Is how quickly can I get out of the situation?
You just answer what appease, so you can get out of it.
Yeah.
You just answer whatever they want to hear.
Yeah. And so ready. So we're gonna go more into how we gain trust back ourselves. It definitely was Mitchell needing to, when he expressed something, following through, okay? Because how we lost trust was a lot of words and a lack of follow through. So he had to follow through. Another thing is what he touched on is if Mitchell went out somewhere, he really needed to be aware and mindful of how long it would take, and telling me that. We set up the rule, it's not a boundary, set up the rule that if he was somewhere and he realized he was going to be later than that time, say he said this is going to take 20 minutes, and he found himself at 25, he is to call me and let me know, hey, I just wanted to let you know, here I am, I'm on my way home. We also had pictures in place, and that was one that I felt, and I remember telling Darren, like, I feel controlling. He said, well, Anna, let me ask you, why do you need it? I said, because I don't trust Mitchell that he's even being honest, that he's really in the place. Yeah, so he said, so do it. And so what it did happen was, yeah, Mitchell would say, I'm going to a meeting. Mitchell would take a picture either right outside the meeting building or inside there and let me know. And then call me up and say I'm leaving. It was a lot of that for about a good 8 months. I really believe, I think it was 8 months. Another thing was of how to build trust back was I wanted all control of the finances. Unfortunately, I didn't trust Mitchell due to what the attic did. So,
and we talked about these things and we both agreed on these things.
Yes. Another thing of how to regain trust back, this is honest to God truth, was I told Mitchell, we've already done 90 days of rehab. I needed him to do it again. I needed him to do 90 days inpatient, but I told him, I need you to do 30 days of outpatient. I need something different. Yeah, I needed something different because that's what Laura always said. And insanity is the same thing over and over.
Yeah, and I think all the stuff that Anna's saying, that wasn't just her ideas.
No.
Right? These are things we worked on with a third party.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
These are, because it's hard. I think all of this would be harder if it's one person coming and saying, I need pictures, I need follow through, I need finances, I need this. Because I think if Anna would have just come to me with all that stuff, I would have been like, no.
Yeah.
Because you feel attacked. You feel lesser than in that moment, right? You feel lower.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you have to have that third party that's like, you're in a negotiation in this thing, right? Like, I'm coming out of addiction. You're coming out of codependency and low self-worth. And I'm coming out of addiction and low self-worth.
Yeah.
You know, what do we do? How do we grow? How do we earn trust? And then you throw these ideas across the room at each other. And you have a third party who's a therapist.
Yeah.
They're saying, well, what would you need for trust? And then Anna could say that. And then it's maybe like, well, what can you do with what she told you, Mitchell? And it's like, I don't know, maybe call her more. Oh, that's a great idea. How many times would you need called? Well, if you're going to be late. Oh, okay. We figure that out. I just wanted to clarify that because on here we're speaking like you just do this stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we came to this with a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
Because I think if one person tells the other person this is how it has to be, it's going to be friction.
Yeah.
It's going to be friction. Sit down with each other, hopefully with a third party, because therapy and counseling is wonderful. And openly talk about what you need. Like brainstorm about what you need and meet there. Yeah. And in early recovery is the best time to do it because I'm receptive to, oh, I can earn trust back. Tell me what you need.
Yeah.
Right? And you're like, oh, you're doing so much better. Congratulations on this. I would really like this to move to the next level. Yeah. Great. We're both receptive and we both want to do things.
Yeah. And I want to just touch base before we go into, I think another way of gaining trust back was selling the house in Pennsylvania and moving up here to Massachusetts. I needed safety, like Mitchell said. I needed that physical safety as well. But a big one was this too, guys, of how to gain trust back. Mitchell allowing me to have a safe place to express myself about triggers.
So space.
Big. Like big and hearing
like you to communicate to me.
Yes, yeah. Massively. Because if I come to you with a trigger of the past and you get upset with me or I feel you're irritated with me, that doesn't gain trust. I'm going to build a bigger wall. But when I started coming to you with my triggers, and I also, another way to gain trust back, we've both got to learn healthy communication, okay? So if I just go to Mitchell in an attacking manner, he's probably going to go into survival brain, he's going to attack as well. But I used to go to Mitchell and I would say, Mitchell, I know you're probably irritated with me right now. However, I want to be honest of why I'm triggered right now. And then Mitchell sits down with me. I'm able to express myself. And Mitchell hears me. He listens to me. And one of the best things Mitchell ever did was just say, either tell me more or how can I support you? When Mitchell does something like that, it's completely different in how the addict treated me. So in that moment, I'm going to tell you why I start gaining trust back. One, I remember how the addict treated me. Mitchell is treating me different. Mitchell is treating me healthy. Mitchell is providing me empathy, which the addict never provided me. No empathy. Mitchell is being supportive of me. He's even asking, how can I support you? The addict was never supportive to me. Other things why also is Mitchell's creating emotional intimacy with me in that moment. I'm also witnessing Mitchell work his recovery. because I know how the addict used to respond, and I continuously am seeing different. I'm also now feeling safer in my environment because I have someone in front of me that is listening to me, feeling with me, therefore empathy, okay, going to understanding.
And that led to feeling more comfortable physically
Yes.
around me, right?
Yes.
So holding that space, because
Yes.
we were talking about the trust in the word, and I like how you just said that, like that holding space allows you to come to me, which what does that look like? That looks like if you don't feel comfortable sitting next to me, now you're actually coming towards me to bring stuff to me. And I think that is the next step of like that physical closeness.
Yeah.
Right? Because before you can have any kind of emotional intimacy, you have to have communication, healthy communication, trust in the communication. Yep. You have to feel safe around them.
Yep.
And then you start touching the iceberg on like getting emotional, like emotional connection again.
Yes, exactly. And so and let's talk a little bit about the taboo subject, because there's been actually some people reaching out lately about this as well. Is they're like, I'm sure, I don't know if it's okay to touch base on physical intimacy.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're talking about today, and I think it's a perfect opportunity of how to regain trust. I'm going to tell you this right now. Physical intimacy generally will not come back until we have emotional intimacy that leads to trust, right? We need...
Well, and I think even, and like you just said, we need like trust of your word.
Yes.
And then trust that you're going to hear me in a safe place.
Yes.
To even think about the emotional intimacy, and then to even feel safe physically.
Yes. Yes.
So there's like 3 or 4 layers that you need to start earning trust back on before you even can scratch the surface.
Yes.
On physical intimacy. I'm feeling safe.
Yes.
In physical
because I do believe for most people, in order to have physical intimacy and actual real deep connection, I can hold it.
I was just trying to scoot back.
You're good. I can hold that. Have a deep connection. What it is you need safety in the relationship. That's not just physical safety. That's emotional safety. Okay. So you need that emotional intimacy, and for us, and that's gaining trust back. Okay. And so the more and more, like, I'll just be real with people on here. I won't get too much information, but it's cool. We're vulnerable. Is that the biggest turn on to me now with Mitchell is what we just talked about. When Mitchell provides me a safe space for me to express myself so that we have a deep intellectual conversation and Mitchell hears me and sees me. That is the sexiest thing to me in the world. And that is how I feel we've been working back at physical intimacy, is because we're having deeper connection again. Yeah, we're having more of those topics where I admit to it. I want people to know this is how we gain trust back too, because my mind still this day sometimes goes, and I admit it. I am intimidated by you still sometimes. Okay? Just of responses. However, if my mind goes to that and goes, I'm intimidated because I'm already assuming Mitchell is going to get defensive or he's going to get irritated towards me, but yet I come up to him, I share, he's not defensive, he's not irritable, or he is defensive, he is irritable, but then he calms, takes accountability, he sits me, he listens to me. It's just like, I feel you actually really heard me and saw me, and then that makes me the physical intimacy.
Yeah, that connection.
That was missing the addiction.
I think what happens is this. It probably doesn't ring true for everybody, but everybody that we deal with that's on here, that's our family, on We Are Recovery, has been in a relationship with a lack of trust and communication and closeness and safety. So I think that is it. Like when you get healthy and you have that again and you feel safe, like, why wouldn't that be the biggest turn on, right? Yeah. If it's something you've been craving for so long and your family member's not there because of drugs or alcohol or mental health or whatever it is, and then you get healthy, like that's there's nothing better than that.
Yeah. Right?
There's nothing better than that. And then it just keeps morphing through communication, right? Because it's like we're all flawed, we all have our character flaws and defects. I know I have tons. But like all you have to do, every opportunity, and I tell a lot of people this is every opportunity, or every conflict or character defect or whatever it might be is an opportunity to get closer together. Because no matter how crappy it is at the beginning, if you take accountability and you sit down and you talk to that person about it and you really connect, you have the chance to become closer. And I hate, and you know the thing is like, the best moments that me and Anna have, and the closer we get physically, emotionally, are always after some hard spot that we go through, right? And it's us both taking accountability. Maybe it's because we're vulnerable and we're feeling that, maybe the vulnerability guard lowering, maybe that has something to do with emotional and physical intimacy too. Probably does.
Yeah.
And the safety, because you want to be more vulnerable when you are, and when you are, you're more, seeing each other's real person, real soul. So it's a lot of things, and I think, whenever me and you don't have those kind of things happen, we do slowly start going farther and farther apart.
And that is our cue that we're avoiding conflict.
Yeah,
okay,
or just not having or just not getting, or just not
conversating,
having conversations. Like
making
sometimes it's not even like avoiding a conflict, but it's just we're in our own thing, man. You know.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, guys, is I feel again, if someone really asks me how to regain trust, I think this is the first time that I'm really thinking about this, because before, when we've always talked about how to regain trust, we really do go into like what we did, right? Of needing control of the finances, you doing pictures, you reaching out before making a decision, you being accountable with your word, like all that. But I'm realizing more and more the way I actually really regain trust with you is by you being that safe environment for me to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Like I really do think that's the biggest thing is you not feeling entitled to my trust again, and actually just being with me where we were at in that moment.
Yeah, yes, 100%. And I think that worked for us.
Yeah.
I think for everybody out there that might be watching this, I think you need to sit down and you need to find out what you both need, and you need to lean into your hearts. You need to have these conversations and say, what did trust like? What did losing trust look like? What does it look like gaining trust back? And going through all these this was the system we used, but it was finding out what we needed.
Yes.
Working with somebody. And like I said, it doesn't have to be. If you can sit down and you can write a list to each other, and if you can't have a simple conversation, write a list to each other and give it to each other and let each other read it for a couple days and then come back.
Yeah.
Like however you need to do this back and forth to figure out how you're going to get on the same page. What helps me gain trust back, because, and the sooner you can do it, the better. Because in early recovery, your addict in early recovery is going to want to do whatever they can to earn trust back, because they're feeling great, they're not using, right? You're saying, I can have trust if I do A, B, and C? Well, heck yeah, I'll do A, B, and C. And start that pattern.
Yeah.
Right? Start that pattern, because I hate to say it, but like once you get set in, well, I stopped using drugs and alcohol again, I'm feeling good, like nothing else has to change. Once I get set in that mode again, I'm not going to do any growing again.
Yeah.
Because I'm complacent again.
I will tell you though, Mitchell, when you said that though, unfortunately, there are some addicts in early recovery that are just, I feel, stuck in the pride and ego, and they're not willing to be like, they think we're all about control.
You definitely have to manipulate it or sugarcoat it a little bit, right? Like, and here's what I mean by that. I mean, a lot of the times, Anna, you would be like, I'm so proud of you for doing this and this and this, and it would make me feel so good that I'm like, well, what else can I do?
Yeah.
What else can I do? You definitely have to have that.
Well, that wasn't manipulation. That was healthy communication.
Healthy communication. But I'm saying, like, do we really know that in early recovery, both of us? No. What are our techniques in early recovery that we know, that we've used for our whole life until now? It's like manipulation, control, all this stuff. So use what you know. It isn't manipulation, but we have to manipulate the situation. Like, oh, they're not going to be receptive to this. I'm going to give them a couple compliments and say, hey, I'd be even prouder of you too. Like, you see how good you're doing now? Is if we had a conversation about this. Like, wow, where could we be?
Yeah. Right?
And that's the excitement that I needed from therapy, from counseling, from my peers in rehab, from you. And it wasn't all the time, because there's a lot of hard stuff going on. Mm-hmm. But if we can put a little cherry on top of stuff when we deliver it to each other, it just makes us want to be more receptive.
Yeah. So I'd still call that healthy communication.
It is healthy communication.
Just because Laura was the one that, remember you, and even who was it that taught us that healthy communication is start with the good, put the stuff that needs to be worked in, and then end with the good.
With a compliment,
With
sandwich.
Yes, and Crystal just wrote, I feel like those that are stuck in the ego are not in recovery for the long haul. If they're stuck in ego, and it's not just to be able to work through, yeah, unfortunately, I feel like when someone's stuck in ego and they can't get out of it, they go and fall into more what's called the dry drunk. It's someone just off a substance but is not willing to challenge any unhealthy behaviors.
Well, and you know what?
And it's victim mentality.
The substance isn't the problem. It's the behaviors that come with it.
Yes.
Right? So you take the substance away and the behaviors might still be there.
Yeah.
So really it is about the behaviors. And, all this stuff we're saying, if it doesn't work and the harder it is and all this stuff, the harder it is, the faster you're going to get your answer of what you need to do.
Yes.
Right? That's what all this is. Life is just an experiment on doing different things, and you start putting all this healthy in and doing this, and someone's really receptive and wants to learn and wants to earn trust back and wants to grow. Great, you have your answer. Like, this is great.
Yeah.
We're on a new path.
Yeah.
If someone doesn't, okay, we still might be able to get to that path.
Yeah.
We might need to find out another couple ways to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe there is some mental health stuff. Maybe we have to both go to therapy because there's other stuff before we even met each other in our ways, in our way with safety. I don't know. Whatever that looks like, there's still the path to this great, great future. Or nothing's gaining traction. You try a couple different ways. It's not there. What's going to be your answer after a while? Well, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And we've changed all this stuff. And eventually you're going to know what you need to do to have the best life for you. And that's what all this is going to get you.
Yep, and Allison, yes, this stuff is going to be posted after this live is done. It's there for replays for the end of time, basically. But I think I want to put really onto a key, Mitchell, in case we do have any couples that come on, or even whatever the relationship may be, and we have someone that's now in early recovery, and they're like, what can I do? What do I need to do? Coming from a family, I really do think the best thing that Mitchell could do for me is continuously challenging himself. And now I want to say, though, just please know, for family members, they are not the only ones that are supposed to be challenging themselves. We are as well, okay?
Well,
so it takes
so
it takes two people to be actively challenging themselves, challenging each our pride and ego, okay? Challenging each our survival mechanisms. I just think the best thing that Mitchell could have done for me is giving me that space so that I could bring triggers to him. And I think that is another way of how to regain trust, guys, is it's being vulnerable and being honest, okay? And what that looks like is family. If we're triggered by something, we come at a non-accusatory way. We don't go up and go, oh, you're already high and drunk, blah, blah. No. That's going to set off, okay?
Can I talk to you for a second?
Yes. Can I talk to you for a moment and learn how to separate the addict from the true individual? That's a big one with how to regain trust, okay? When you talk about the past, don't say don't say their name. Go ahead and say the addiction or the addict, okay? And it just helps digest more, okay? Use I feel statements. So come and say, hey, I just want to be honest with you. I ask for honesty from you, and I need to do the same. I want you to know that you have done nothing wrong. Always start. You have done nothing wrong. I want to be honest and let you know that I'm triggered. I'm triggered because of past things that happened with the addiction. Would you mind if I sit down with you and talk about them? So now you're in that space. Allow the family member to sit down and say, again, I know it's not you now. I just wanted you to know that even you opening up the garage door triggered me back to when the addict was there. And when the addict came home, I didn't know if it would be a good day or a bad day. I'd have a lot of anxiety. And then now you can look at them and go, that must have been very difficult. Is there anything I can do to support you, or how can I support you? That is some of the best things that Mitchell did for me, because it allowed me again to feel seen and heard, not only in the past. We revisited the past through that trigger, but also being seen now. And again, it allowed me to know that Mitchell was doing different. I feel safe physically. I feel safe emotionally. I feel safe mentally. I feel safe spiritually with you. The more and more that happens, the more trust gets built. And again, like Mitchell and I just said, Mitchell doesn't send me pictures anymore. Okay? Like, that doesn't happen. One of the things that Mitchell and I still do is before we do something, we sit down to one another and we talk about it. Like Mitchell didn't just come to me the other day and went, I'm going to the concert. That's not how I gain trust with Mitchell. I'm going to tell you right then and there, it doesn't matter how many years we have of recovery under our belt. Mitchell comes to me and goes, I'm going to the concert. My mind's going to go, well, there was just a lapse 6 months ago. I know, the last 6 months ago, I would just be so hurt. Instead, Mitchell came, and Mitchell had to face his things where he just said the other day, like he was hurt by that. He was angry by it. He's like, I can't do things now because I'm an addict and such.
It wasn't because of you. I was hurt by me.
Yes, exactly.
Hurt by me in my actions.
But we both worked through it. Okay? So just know, like, it's not forever. Once trust is regained, yes, we still... Think of it this way. When you build a fire, in the beginning, it takes a lot more work. But once you got it going, you just got to put a few logs on from time to time. So think of that way of how to gain trust back. In the beginning, we have no fire usually at all. There's not even a flicker, being completely honest, okay?
And coming out of recovery, it's wet wood.
Yes.
It's no lighter.
Yes. Okay?
It's going to take a while.
It's going to take a while. But with determination, with perseverance, with support systems on both sides, yep, the wood starts drying out. Okay? Then we start being more honest with people. We start stepping on eggshells also. Okay, those things that we're nervous about, talking to our spouse, being completely honest. Again, it doesn't have to be a spouse. Talking to that person. I'm being honest right now. If you're scared, it's understandable and you're valid. Okay, because I know we were intimidated by the addict. We felt intimidated. However, if your loved one is now in recovery, what you are doing is treating your one in recovery as the addict still. Yeah. We need to learn how to separate. Okay? So you've got to lean in, because the more opportunities that are provided, the more opportunities Mitchell had a chance to go, hey, I'm not the addict. I'm actually Mitchell. And we started putting wood on the fire. Started stoking it more. Started doing more of that. And now... to me, I don't feel like it's nearly, it's still work, but not like even close to what before. We're blazing.
No, I think that, you know how you just said too, about, I know it's scary, you know, because you're still intimidated by the addiction or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that just like kind of lit something up in me, feeling like, you know, it's different. It's the total opposite scariness on both sides, right? Like the addict has lived in that hijacking kind of mode, right? Like emotionally and verbally, safety, like hijacking other people's safety and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's hard. The scary thing for us is not being that, right? The aggressor, if you want to look at it that way. And the scary thing for the families is trusting that, right? It's like not fearing that, like getting our confidence enough to, the families is getting our self-worth and our confidence enough to say, this matters to me, I'm going to say something because it matters to me, and I'm not really trying to make you feel bad, I'm just saying what matters to me.
Yeah.
And for the addict in recovery, it's saying, I don't need to protect myself from this person because they really want to get to know me, they really want to love me, they are giving me another chance. I can let my guard down.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We're
letting ours down and you guys are building yours up. And in reality, we're both building ours up.
Yeah.
But it's just so similar. And that's another thing about earning the trust back, which is something we always kind of preach here, is finding that commonality.
Yeah.
Finding like it, everything we're going through is relatively the same. Just find the common thread.
Yeah. Right?
Like it's not going to be the same exact experience from the addict to the loved one, but it's connected. It is connected. There is some things that you went through in childhood, or in school, or in church, or in or at work, or whatever, man, or sitting alone by yourself. Thoughts you've had that the other people have had too. And if you can connect those things, I think it brings the humanity back to it. It says, I'm doing this to help. I'm doing this to move forward, to grow closer to you. And I think it helps with understanding why this is all taking place. If you can find that common thread.
I think one of the biggest things of how to regain trust back is like what yours is seeing the humanity of each and finding the understanding. As family members, it's going to be us stepping on those eggshells and leaning into that uncomfortable and being nervous of how someone's going to respond. We have to do that because if we don't do it, we're letting the addiction win even in recovery, okay? We're not providing opportunities for our loved one to even have chances to work through hards, okay? For people that are now in early recovery from addiction, I think what needs to be worked on is receptiveness.
Yeah.
Okay. And I do think another thing, Mitchell, that you did say one time that was very helpful is when families tend to bring up what happened in the addiction, it's a common theme that I see is the addict in recovery wants to defend. Okay. They're very quick to defending what happened in the past. And I remember even in a couple session, one time you went, "Can I ask you something?" to the spouse that was in early recovery. He was like, "What?" And you even expressed, or it was just someone we were talking to. And you even said, why do you do that? He's like, "What? Why are you negating what your wife said? Were you in addiction?" "Yeah." "Okay, well, you were numbing everything."
Yeah, how do you know what's going on?
Your spouse was in it and feeling everything. So can I just ask you, why are you now, when there's an opportunity to regain trust, why are you telling her now that the way she remembered things, the way she believes things, or the way she felt things, that she's wrong? Yeah. When you were high or drunk, you don't remember it correctly. Why is it
because
again?
Because the answer always is because we're defending who we think we are.
Yeah.
We're defending who we want to be, but that's not who we were.
Yeah.
Right? That's not who we were in those things. And it took me a long time to realize that. Number one is even without addiction, if I'm totally sober and something happens and you're totally sober and something happens, we both still see it from two different angles.
Yeah. So
what you see is right and what I see is right.
Yeah.
And there's what happened.
Yeah.
Like if someone was narrating it.
Yes.
But then yes, you're right. Like it's if you think about it, like if there's a drunk person on the side of the road and a sober person on the side of the road, whose story are you gonna believe?
Yeah.
Sober person.
Yeah. And you also just kind of hit home, and I want everyone to really hear this, is that when family members are working a recovery with healing, we are not saying these things with the intention to hurt. We are saying it with the intention to be heard. Once we're heard,
and that's hard.
It helps us work through. It helps us work through those things. And so that's what I think is learning to separate the addict from the true individual more really helps those situations. Instead of saying the word "you" or saying that you're talking about the past, you're talking about the addiction. Okay, and it's more receptive. And I just feel like when I was talking about things in the past and you were telling me that's not how it went, that's not what wrong, I don't build trust to that. But then
you're gonna stop bringing things up.
Yes, because it's not a safe environment again.
Yep.
So when you're more receptive and going, "Anna, I don't know if I remember that way, but I know you were there and you're feeling it. How can I support you?" I feel safer with you again, and that's trust.
And vice versa. I've seen a lot of people come out of treatment or are in recovery and they've done a lot of work, and maybe the family hasn't done any work yet because they haven't realized yet that they have a lot of work to do as well.
Yes.
And maybe they're coming from a place of anger and resentment. Well, what happens when a person that's real receptive keeps wanting to hear these things, but they keep getting anger?
Yeah.
Well, eventually I'm not going to want to hear them.
Yeah.
So it's both sides, right?
Yes.
And if both sides do this, it's a stop. It's a standstill. Even if one side does it, you can see how it eventually wears the other one down, and then it stops.
Yes.
So it takes two.
Yes.
It takes I need to work on myself and not get over my resentments, but say, these harder resentments I'm going to put on the shelf. I'm going to work on these littler ones because we are just new to this. We're going to see how this goes. We're going to keep receptive in this one, and then we can pull those ones off, and we're going to tackle these big things we have a long time.
Yeah.
And then the other person can say, I'm going to remain open. I realize that they're angry, and they have a right to be angry. I'm going to go to my support and say, man, I just was really working through some hard resentments with my spouse. I can't really handle it. And your loved ones can say, man, that must be really hard. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm glad you came to me and talked about it. You know what I mean? Like, you're doing a great job. Yeah. Like, it is hard listening to this stuff. Thanks, man. And then you can go back and you still hear that.
Yeah.
But if you go with these huge bombshells, man, and you just bicker back and forth, it's just not going to do any good, right? You need to work yourself up slow and steady. Trust was not taken in a day. It's not going to be earned in a day. And that's support.
Remember, addiction for years and years and years has been called a family disease. If it's a family disease, then everyone involved needs to heal. Correct? right?
Yeah,
We don't go at an illness and just go, well, this is here, we're only going to treat this. No, you treat all of it. So meaning every side, doesn't matter if who the addict is in your life, your child, your spouse, your friend, your parent, you still have your own recovery and healing to do as well, family. Okay? We both have to heal on both sides. We both have things we need to challenge. And trust cannot be regained if Mitchell was the only one working the healing journey and I'm sitting over here going, well, you did all of it, so heal me. That's never going to work. I got to look in the mirror, take the codependent relationship, start breaking it up, and start seeing, okay, what am I accountable for? What do I need to work on for myself? That's a big key also of how we regain trust. Finding what was ours and taking that responsibility and leaving the rest.
Yep. And listen, before addiction or anything before anything took place or whatever, every single person on this earth has some messed up stuff they have to work through from childhood or just how we took things in. Maybe it was playing kickball one day or in a classroom, right? Or over the summer something happened. Like, we all are a little messed up, and we all, in a good way, right? We all are unique, which is fantastic. But we bring this stuff with us into later in life, and it keeps bringing us down. So all we have to do is we have to challenge that stuff. Yeah. Have a support network for it. Learn to trust ourself better. Learn what we want. Yeah. Like who we are. Yeah. I mean, I'm still learning who I am and what I want, and Anna is too. Yeah. I mean, we're doing different things, and we're a hell of a lot better than we've been. It keeps getting better and better, but like I think we've only scratched the surface. Yeah, and I think if you're coming in at the end of this live, just kind of a recap of what we just expressed is how to regain trust is first each side needing a support system. It makes it easier to digest information, hear from a middle source. Work on communication. Work on healthy communication. Find out what your love language is. Start creating emotional intimacy again. We went into how you can create that emotional intimacy. Creating that safe space for each side. Safe space, right? Each side. Which helps the physical safety. And we didn't touch a little bit on that, is if Mitchell has a trigger, me becoming a safe space. If I want to be that part to also be after he works with a support system to hear what he's went through, I need to be safe and need to be receptive. Yeah, because again, I'll shut down if you freak out every time, then it's like, which you're allowed to do. Yes. But if it's every time and there's nothing resolved, then I'm going to stop coming. Yes. You know what I mean? So exactly. Yes, it's that openness, trying to put our anger aside because it has a place, but putting it aside to hear and listen. Yeah. And we went through some personal things of what we went through and how to rebuild that trust as well. Oh yeah, and you kind of like make your own pathway to this. Yes. Sit down and figure out what you need. Yeah. What is how to regain trust actually mean to you? Make your own thing for you, and if it doesn't work, do something else. Yeah. Try something else. Yep. And then guys, I've been doing morning lives every single morning, but just to let you know, I don't have a set time with them. It's when I get out, when I go outside, I do the lives. It's been working fantastic. I've been coming on every single day. I think it's just helped easier to kind of feel that freedom to come on and talk rather than be like, oh God, I got to get on by this time. So we're just going to keep it that way. If you want to watch the lives, I know you'll come back and watch them. If you don't, you don't watch them. That's absolutely okay. All right. And I haven't been doing lives. I'm taking a break. I'm just not really feeling it right now. So, yep. I mean, yeah, just to be honest with you. Yeah. We were also talking about, Mitchell and I the other day, of trying to find more times to come on together, because that's what We Are Recovery was in the beginning. It was Mitchell and I coming on. But as anybody out there has kids, once you have kids, it's a little bit more difficult to find this time to come on together. So we're trying to make it work by doing the separate videos at times, but we're going to try to have it where we come on together at times as well, okay? I'll be around. Yes, yes. So we love you guys very much. I hope this video was helpful of how to regain trust. If you have any feedback for us, that there was questions you still wanted answered or you just feel a different way, we also like feedback as well too. All right, guys? Hope you have a fantastic night. Bye, guys. Love you. All right.